Everett was a single father who lost everything: his wife, his business, his home. With his last $15,000, he bought an abandoned farmhouse in rural Oregon, hoping it would be a new beginning for him and his 5-year-old daughter, Kira. He left for 6 weeks to handle paperwork and gather supplies. When he came back, smoke rose from the chimney. 2 strangers were living inside his house. They were young, scared, and desperate. They begged him not to call the police. Then Kira asked a question that changed everything. The farmhouse sat at the end of a gravel road that hadn't been maintained in years. Everett pulled his truck to a stop and cut the engine. Kira was asleep in the passenger seat, her head tilted against the window. He looked at the house through the windshield. The porch sagged on one side. The paint had peeled away in long strips, but it was his. He had signed the papers 6 weeks ago, and now it belonged to him. He had owned a construction company once, a good one. He had employed 17 people and built homes across 3 counties. Then his wife got sick. The medical bills came first. Then the missed deadlines. Then the loans he couldn't pay back. She died in the spring, and by summer, he had lost the business. By fall, he had lost the house. He moved into a motel with Kira and worked day labor jobs until he had saved enough to buy something cheap. The farmhouse cost $15,000. It was all he had left. He had left Kira with his brother while he handled the paperwork and tried to line up work in the area. He needed a few weeks to get things ready. He thought he would come back, clean the place up, and then bring her home. He thought it would be empty, but there was smoke coming from the chimney. Everett stared at it. He felt something tighten in his chest. He opened the door and stepped out. The air smelled like wood smoke and wet earth. He walked toward the house slowly. The front door was closed but not locked. He pushed it open. 2 women sat on the floor near the fireplace. They were young, maybe mid-20s. One had dark hair pulled back in a braid. The other had lighter hair that fell around her shoulders. They both looked up when he stepped inside. Their faces went pale. The one with the braid stood quickly. She held up her hands like she was trying to calm a wild animal. "Please don't call the cops," she said. Her voice shook. "We'll leave right now. We're not trying to cause trouble." Everett didn't move. He looked around the room. There were 2 sleeping bags rolled up in the corner. A few bags of groceries sat on the counter. A pot of something was heating over the fire. They had been here for a while. "This is my house," Everett said. The woman with the braid nodded quickly. She looked like she might cry. "I know. I'm sorry. We didn't think anyone was coming back. The place looked abandoned." The other woman stood up too. She was quieter, but her eyes were sharp. She watched Everett carefully, like she was trying to figure out what he would do next. "We didn't break anything," the quieter one said. "We just needed a place to stay." Everett felt anger rising in his chest, but it wasn't clean anger. It was tangled up with exhaustion and frustration, and something else he couldn't name. He had spent everything he had on this place. He had brought his daughter here because he had nowhere else to go. And now these 2 strangers were standing in his house, asking him not to call the police. He heard the truck door slam outside. Kira came running up the porch steps. She stopped in the doorway and looked at the 2 women with wide eyes. "Daddy, who are they?" Kira asked. Everett opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. The woman with the braid crouched down so she was at Kira's eye level. "Hi," she said softly. "My name is Willow. This is my sister, Autumn." Kira looked at her father, then back at Willow. "Are you living in our house?" Kira asked. Willow's face flushed. She looked up at Everett, then back at Kira. "We were," Willow said, "but we're going to leave now." Kira tilted her head. She looked at the fire in the fireplace, then at the sleeping bags in the corner. "It's warmer in here than the truck," Kira said. She looked up at her father. "Can they show me how to start a fire, Daddy?" Everett felt something crack inside him. He looked at Kira, then at the 2 women. Willow was still crouched on the floor. Her hands were shaking. Autumn stood behind her, arms crossed, but there was no fight in her eyes. Just fear. He didn't know what to do. He should have told them to leave. He should have driven into town and figured out what his legal options were. But Kira was looking at the fire like it was the most interesting thing she had seen in months. And the two women looked like they hadn't eaten a real meal in weeks. Everett let out a long breath. "Sit down," he said. Willow blinked. "What?" "Sit down," Everett repeated. "You can tell me what you're doing in my house. Then we'll figure out what happens next." Willow and Autumn exchanged a glance. Slowly, they sat back down near the fire. Everett pulled over an old wooden chair and sat across from them. Kira sat on the floor next to him, her legs crossed. Willow looked at her hands for a long moment. Then she started talking. She and Autumn were twins. They'd grown up in a small town in Washington. Their mother had raised them alone after their father left. 3 years ago, their mother was diagnosed with cancer. Willow had been working as a nurse. Autumn had been in college. They both quit everything to take care of her. The treatments were expensive. They sold the house to pay for them. Their mother died anyway. After the funeral, they tried to start over. But the debt didn't go away. The hospital bills kept coming. They worked 2 jobs each, but it wasn't enough. They lost their apartment. They lived in their car for a while. Then the car broke down. They had been moving from place to place ever since, staying wherever they could find shelter. They had seen the farmhouse from the road. It looked abandoned. They thought they could stay for a few days, just until they figured out their next move. That was 3 weeks ago. Willow's voice cracked when she finished. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm sorry," she said again. "We didn't mean to take anything from you. We'll go." Everett looked at them. He thought about the motel room where he and Kira had spent the last 6 months. He thought about the nights when he couldn't sleep because he didn't know how he was going to pay for another week. He thought about the feeling of having nothing and no one. He looked at Kira. She was watching Willow with the kind of intensity only children have. She didn't understand the full story, but she understood enough. "It's cold outside," Kira said quietly. Everett rubbed his face. He didn't know if this was the right decision. He didn't know if it was even a sane decision. But he knew what it felt like to be desperate. He knew what it felt like to have nowhere to go. "You can stay," he said. Willow's head snapped up. "What?" "You can stay," Everett repeated, "for now, until you figure out what you're doing next." Autumn spoke for the first time since they had sat down. "Why would you do that?" she asked. Her voice was hard, like she didn't trust kindness. Everett looked at her. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything," he said. "And because this place is big enough for all of us." Willow's eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth with her hand. Autumn's expression didn't change, but something softened in her eyes. "We'll help," Willow said quickly. "We can clean. We can cook. We can fix things. We won't just take from you." Everett nodded. "The place needs a lot of work," he said. "If you're staying, you'll be working. That's the deal." Willow nodded so hard it looked like her head might fall off. "Yes, absolutely. Thank you." Kira smiled. She looked up at her father. "Can they show me how to start a fire now?" she asked. Everett almost laughed. It was the first time he had wanted to laugh in months. "Yeah," he said. "They can show you." Willow wiped her eyes and smiled at Kira. She moved closer to the fireplace and gestured for Kira to sit beside her. Autumn watched them for a moment, then looked back at Everett. "You don't know us," Autumn said quietly. "You're taking a risk." Everett met her gaze. "So are you," he said. Autumn didn't argue. She just nodded. That night, they shared the pot of soup Willow had been cooking. It wasn't much, but it was warm. Kira fell asleep on one of the sleeping bags. and Everett carried her to the truck to sleep in the cab where it was quieter. When he came back inside, Willow and Autumn were cleaning up. "There's only one bedroom upstairs," Everett said. "You two can take it. Kira and I will figure something out down here." Willow shook her head. "We can sleep down here. You and Kira should take the bedroom." Everett was too tired to argue. He nodded. "We'll figure it out tomorrow," he said. He lay down on the floor near the fire and stared at the ceiling. The house creaked and settled around him. He didn't know what he had just done. He didn't know if it was smart or stupid or somewhere in between. But for the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel empty. And that was something. The first week was chaos. The roof leaked in 2 places. The electrical wiring was so old that Everett was afraid to plug anything in. The kitchen sink didn't drain. The floorboards in the hallway were rotted through, and Kira nearly put her foot through one on the second day. Everett spent most of his time trying to figure out what needed to be fixed first. Willow and Autumn cleaned. They swept out years of dust and dead leaves. They scrubbed the windows until light actually came through. They patched holes in the walls with whatever materials they could find. It wasn't pretty, but it was progress. Kira followed Willow everywhere. She asked 1,000 questions, and Willow answered every one. She showed Kira how to fold blankets into tight squares and how to organize the few dishes they had. She taught her how to tell if wood was dry enough to burn. Kira soaked it all up, like she had been starving for attention. Everett noticed. He didn't say anything, but he noticed. Money was tight. Everett had a little left after buying the house, but not much. He picked up work where he could find it, mostly small repair jobs in town. Willow found part-time work at a diner 20 minutes away. Autumn took odd jobs cleaning houses. They pooled what they made and bought food and supplies. It wasn't enough, but it kept them going. At night, they ate together at the old wooden table Everett had dragged in from the barn. The meals were simple: rice and beans, pasta with whatever vegetables were on sale, sometimes just bread and butter. But they were warm, and they were together. One evening, Kira looked up from her plate and said something that made everyone stop. "This feels like a family," she said. Nobody knew what to say. Everett looked at his daughter. Willow looked down at her hands. Autumn stared at the wall. The silence stretched out, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that meant something true had just been spoken. Everett cleared his throat. "Eat your dinner, sweetheart," he said quietly. Kira nodded and went back to her food. But the words stayed in the air. The work on the house continued. Everett replaced the worst of the floorboards. Willow and Autumn painted the walls in the downstairs rooms. Kira helped by handing them brushes and pointing out spots they missed. The house started to look less like a ruin and more like a place where people actually lived. But it wasn't just the house that was changing. Everett found himself watching Willow when she wasn't looking. The way she moved through the rooms like she belonged there. The way she laughed at Kira's jokes. The way she pushed her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating on something. He felt guilty every time he caught himself doing it. His wife had been gone less than 2 years. He wasn't supposed to feel this way about someone else yet. But he did. Willow felt it too, though she tried not to. She saw the way Everett looked at her sometimes. She saw the way he made sure she had eaten before he ate, the way he always checked to make sure she had everything she needed before he went to bed. It scared her, not because she didn't feel the same way, but because she did. She and Autumn had relied on each other for so long that the idea of depending on someone else felt dangerous. What if Everett changed his mind? What if he decided they were too much trouble and asked them to leave? What if she let herself care and it all fell apart? So she kept her distance. She was polite and helpful and friendly, but she didn't let herself get closer than that. Autumn saw what was happening. She always saw things before anyone else did. One night, after Everett and Kira had gone to bed, she sat down next to Willow on the porch. "You like him," Autumn said. It wasn't a question. Willow didn't bother denying it. "It doesn't matter," Willow said. "Why not?" "Because we're just staying here temporarily. Because he's grieving. Because it's complicated." Autumn leaned back against the porch railing. She looked up at the stars. "You've been taking care of me for 3 years," Autumn said. "You gave up everything for Mom. You gave up everything for me. When are you going to let yourself have something?" Willow didn't answer. She didn't know how to. Inside the house, Everett lay awake on the couch. Kira was asleep upstairs in the bedroom they now shared. He could hear Willow and Autumn talking on the porch, but he couldn't make out the words. He stared at the ceiling and thought about his wife. He had loved her. He still loved her. But she was gone, and he was still here. And there was a woman in his house who made him feel like maybe he could be someone other than a grieving widower and a failed businessman. Maybe he could just be a man again. But he didn't know if he was allowed to want that. The next morning, Everett was on the roof patching a leak when he heard Kira scream. He dropped the hammer and slid down the ladder so fast he almost fell. He ran into the house and found Kira sitting on the floor in the hallway. Willow was kneeling next to her. Kira was crying. Everett's heart stopped. "What happened?" he asked. Willow looked up at him. Her face was calm, but her voice was gentle. "She's okay," Willow said. "She just scraped her knee." Everett looked down. Kira's knee was bleeding, but it wasn't bad. She had tripped over a loose board he hadn't gotten around to fixing yet. He knelt down next to her. "Let me see," he said. Kira held out her leg. Everett examined the scrape. It was shallow. It would heal. "You're okay, kiddo," he said. "It's just a scratch." But Kira kept crying. Everett realized she wasn't crying because of the pain. She was crying because she was scared. He pulled her into his arms and held her. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're okay." Willow stood up and went to the kitchen. She came back with a damp cloth and a bandage. She cleaned Kira's knee carefully, then put the bandage on. Kira sniffled and wiped her eyes. "Does it still hurt?" Willow asked. Kira shook her head. "A little," she said. Willow smiled. "You're very brave," she said. Kira looked up at her. "My mom used to say that," Kira said. The room went quiet. Everett felt his chest tighten. He didn't talk about his wife much. He didn't know how to without falling apart. Willow didn't look away. She just nodded. "She sounds like she was a smart mom," Willow said. Kira nodded. She was. Willow reached out and gently touched Kira's hair. "It's okay to miss her," Willow said. Kira's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different. They weren't scared tears. They were sad tears. Real tears. She leaned into Willow's hand and started crying again. Willow pulled her close and held her. Everett watched them. He felt something break open inside him. He had been so focused on surviving, on keeping Kira fed and safe, that he hadn't let her grieve. He hadn't let himself grieve. He had just kept moving because stopping felt too dangerous. But Willow wasn't afraid of the sadness. She just held Kira and let her cry. And Kira cried harder than she had in months. When she finally stopped, she looked up at Willow with red eyes. "Do you miss your mom?" Kira asked. Willow nodded. "Every day," she said. "Does it get easier?" Willow thought about it. "It gets different," she said. "You learn to carry it. But it's always there." Kira wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "I don't want to forget her," she said. "You won't," Willow said. "She's part of you. She'll always be part of you." Kira seemed to think about that. Then she nodded. She looked at her father. "Can I go play outside?" she asked. Everett nodded. Kira stood up carefully, testing her knee. Then she walked outside. Everett and Willow stayed on the floor. "Thank you," Everett said. Willow shook her head. "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do," Everett said. I haven't been able to talk to her about her mom. I didn't know how." Willow looked at him. Her eyes were sad. "Grief is hard," she said, "especially when you're trying to be strong for someone else." Everett felt something shift. He wanted to say something. He wanted to tell her that he wasn't just grateful, that he felt something more than that, but he couldn't find the words. Willow stood up. She offered him her hand. He took it and she helped him to his feet. For a moment they stood there, hands still touching. Neither of them moved. Then Willow let go. "I should get back to work," she said. Everett nodded. She walked away, and he stood there, feeling like something important had just happened, even though nothing had actually been said. Over the next few weeks, things continued to change. The house was coming together. The roof didn't leak anymore. The floors were solid. The walls were painted. It was starting to feel like a home. But the tension between Everett and Willow was growing. They were careful around each other, too polite, too distant. Autumn saw it. Kira saw it. Everyone saw it except the two of them. One night, Autumn had enough. She found Everett outside, fixing the fence around the property. The sun was setting and the air was cold. She walked up to him and crossed her arms. "You need to talk to her," Autumn said. Everett looked up. "What?" "You need to talk to Willow," Autumn said. "This thing where you both pretend you don't have feelings is getting ridiculous." Everett put down the hammer. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Autumn rolled her eyes. "Yes, you do. You look at her like she's the only person in the room. And she looks at you the same way when you're not watching." Everett felt his face get hot. "It's not that simple," he said. "Why not?" "Because I'm still grieving. Because she's staying in my house out of charity. Because it's complicated." Autumn shook her head. "You know what I think," Autumn said. "I think you're scared." Everett didn't argue. "Maybe I am," he said. Autumn softened a little. "Willow's scared too," she said. "She's been taking care of me and Mom for so long that she doesn't know how to let someone take care of her. But you've been doing that. You've been taking care of all of us." Everett looked at her. "I'm not trying to take care of anyone," he said. "I'm just trying to survive." "That's the same thing," Autumn said. "And the fact that you don't see that is exactly why she's falling for you." Everett didn't know what to say. Autumn gave him a long look. "She saved us," Autumn said. "But you're saving her. And if you don't tell her how you feel, you're both going to keep pretending until it's too late." She walked back to the house, leaving Everett alone with his thoughts. That night, Everett couldn't sleep. He got up and walked into the kitchen. Willow was sitting at the table with a cup of tea. She looked up when he came in. "Can't sleep?" she asked. Everett shook his head. He poured himself a glass of water and sat down across from her. For a long time, neither of them said anything. Then Willow spoke. "I've been thinking about leaving," she said. Everett felt his stomach drop. "Why?" Willow looked down at her cup. "Because this was supposed to be temporary," she said. "And because I don't want to overstay my welcome." Everett leaned forward. "You're not," he said. "How do you know?" "Because I don't want you to go." The words came out before he could stop them. Willow looked up. Her eyes were wide. "Everett, I know it's complicated," Everett said. "I know I'm still grieving. I know this whole situation is strange. But I don't want you to leave. I don't want any of you to leave." Willow's hands were shaking. She set down her cup. "I don't want to leave either," she said quietly. "But I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of this," she said. "Of caring about you and Kira and this house and having it all fall apart. I've already lost too much. I don't know if I can do it again." Everett reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. "I'm scared too," he said. "But I'm more scared of letting you walk away without telling you how I feel." Willow's eyes filled with tears. "How do you feel?" she asked. Everett took a breath. "Like maybe I'm allowed to be happy again," he said. "Like maybe we both are." Willow squeezed his hand. A tear ran down her cheek, but she was smiling. "I think I'd like that," she said. They sat there, hands clasped across the table, and for the first time in a long time, neither of them felt alone. Winter came early that year. The first snow fell in late October. Everett woke up to find everything covered in white. He stood at the window and watched Kira run outside in her pajamas, laughing as she tried to catch snowflakes on her tongue. Willow followed her out with a blanket and wrapped it around her shoulders. They spun in circles together until they both fell down in the snow, laughing. Everett felt something warm settle in his chest. Then he felt the cold air coming through the gaps around the window frame. He added weather stripping to the list of things that needed to be fixed before the real cold set in. The house was better than it had been, but it wasn't ready for winter. The heating system didn't work. They had been relying on the fireplace, but that wouldn't be enough when the temperature dropped below freezing. Everett spent his days insulating the walls and sealing the drafts. Willow and Autumn helped where they could. They stuffed old newspapers into cracks and hung thick blankets over the windows at night. Money was tighter than ever. The repair jobs in town had dried up. Nobody wanted to hire a contractor they didn't know when winter was coming. Willow's hours at the diner got cut. Autumn's cleaning jobs became less frequent. They were burning through their savings faster than Everett wanted to admit. One night, after Kira had gone to bed, the four adults sat around the kitchen table and looked at the numbers. Autumn had written everything down on a piece of paper. Income on one side, expenses on the other. The gap between them was getting bigger. "We have enough for maybe 6 more weeks," Autumn said. "After that, we're going to have to make some decisions." Willow looked at Everett. He could see the worry in her eyes. "What kind of decisions?" Willow asked. Autumn folded her arms. "The kind where we figure out if this is actually working, or if we're just pretending it is," Autumn said. Everett felt his jaw tighten. He had known this conversation was coming. He just hadn't wanted to have it. "What are you saying?" Everett asked. Autumn met his gaze. "I'm saying that maybe this whole thing was a nice idea, but it's not sustainable. We can't keep living on hope and good intentions." Willow shook her head. "We're making it work," Willow said. "Are we?" Autumn asked. "We're barely surviving. We're patching holes and counting pennies and hoping nothing breaks. What happens when something does break? What happens when Kira gets sick, or the roof caves in, or the truck dies?" Everett didn't have an answer. Autumn looked at him, then at Willow. "I'm not trying to be cruel," Autumn said. "I'm trying to be realistic. We need to figure out if we're actually building something here, or if we're just 4 people clinging to a sinking ship." The room went quiet. Everett stared at the paper on the table. The numbers didn't lie. They were running out of time. Willow reached over and took his hand. He looked at her. "What do you want to do?" Willow asked. Everett thought about it. He thought about the house and the work they had done. He thought about Kira laughing in the snow. He thought about sitting at this table every night with people who felt like family. "I want to make this work," Everett said. Autumn leaned back in her chair. "Then we need a real plan," she said. "Not just surviving day to day. We need something bigger." Everett nodded slowly. She was right. They couldn't keep going like this. They needed to think long term. They needed to build something that would last. "I've been thinking about starting the business again," Everett said. Willow looked at him surprised. "Your construction company?" Everett nodded. "Not the same way as before. Smaller. Just me at first. But there's work out here. People need things fixed. Houses renovated. I could do that." Autumn tilted her head. "Do you have the money to start up again?" Everett shook his head. "Not yet. But I could build a reputation. Take small jobs. Save up. Eventually, I could hire people. grow it. Willow squeezed his hand. That could work, she said. Autumn looked skeptical, but she didn't argue. What about us? Autumn asked. What do Willow and I do? Willow spoke up. I've been thinking about that too, Willow said. The diner is struggling, but people still need to eat. What if we started something here? A small food stand or a catering business? Something we could run out of the house. Autumn raised an eyebrow. With what money? We don't need much to start, Willow said. Just enough for ingredients and some basic supplies. We could start small and grow. Everett looked at her. He could see the excitement in her eyes. She had been working at the diner for weeks, but this was the first time she had talked about doing something for herself. I think that's a good idea, Everett said. Autumn looked between them. She let out a long breath. Okay, she said. So we're doing this. We're actually doing this. Everett nodded. We're doing this, he said. They talked late into the night. They made lists and budgets and timelines. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't guaranteed. But it was a plan. And that was more than they had before. Over the next few weeks, things started to shift. Everett put the word out that he was taking repair jobs. He got a few calls, small things at first. Fixing a deck, replacing a window, patching a roof. But the work was steady. People liked him. They started recommending him to others. Willow and Autumn started baking. They made bread and pies and cookies. They sold them at a farmer's market in town. The first weekend, they made $60. The second weekend, they made $90. Word spread. People started placing orders. Kira helped where she could. She packaged the baked goods in paper bags and tied them with string. She drew pictures on the bags to make them look special. Customers loved it. They started asking for the bags with Kira's drawings. The house filled with the smell of bread and cinnamon. The kitchen became a workspace. Flour dusted the counters. Mixing bowls piled up in the sink. But there was life in the house now. Purpose. One evening, Everett came home from a job and found Willow sitting on the porch. She had a cup of tea in her hands and a tired smile on her face. He sat down next to her. "How was your day?" he asked. Willow laughed softly. "Exhausting. We made 70 loaves of bread today. My arms feel like they're going to fall off." Everett smiled. "But it's working," he said. Willow nodded. "It's working," she agreed. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Willow spoke again. "Do you ever worry that this is too good to be true?" she asked. Everett looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean that we've been through so much, both of us. And now we're here. And things are actually getting better. It feels fragile, like if I hold on too tight, it'll break." Everett understood. He felt the same way sometimes, like happiness was something he had to hold carefully, like it might slip through his fingers if he wasn't careful. "I think we've earned this," Everett said. "I think we've been through enough to deserve something good." Willow looked at him. Her eyes were soft. "I hope you're right," she said. He reached over and took her hand. "I am," he said. Winter deepened. The snow piled up around the house. The days were short and cold, but inside the house was warm. The fireplace burned constantly. The kitchen was always busy. Kira played on the floor with toys Autumn had found at a thrift store. They ate meals together. They worked together. They laughed together. One night, Kira asked a question that made everyone stop. "Are Willow and Autumn going to stay forever?" she asked. Everett looked at Willow. Willow looked at Autumn. Nobody had talked about it explicitly, but the answer had become obvious over the past few months. Everett spoke first. "Do you want them to stay?" he asked Kira. Kira nodded immediately. "Yes," she said. "I like it when we're all together." Everett looked at Willow. "What do you think?" he asked. Willow's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I think I'd like to stay," she said. Autumn looked at her sister, then at Everett, then at Kira. She let out a breath. "I guess I'm staying too," Autumn said. Kira jumped up and hugged Willow. Willow hugged her back. Everett felt something settle in his chest. It was relief. It was gratitude. It was something bigger than both of those things. The winter passed. Spring came slowly. The snow melted. The ground softened. Everett's business grew. He hired his first employee, a young man from town who needed work. Willow and Autumn expanded their baking operation. They started taking catering orders for events. They were busy. They were tired. But they were happy. One afternoon in early April, Everett and Willow drove back to the farmhouse together after picking up supplies in town. The road was muddy from the thaw. The trees were starting to bud. Everything felt new. Everett pulled the truck to a stop in front of the house. He cut the engine and sat there for a moment, looking at the building. It was the same house he had bought a year ago, but it was completely different. The porch had been rebuilt. The walls had been painted. The windows were clean. The roof was solid. Smoke rose from the chimney. Kira's drawings were taped to the inside of the front window. It looked like a home. Willow followed his gaze. "It's hard to believe this is the same place," she said. Everett nodded. "It's not," he said. "Not really." Willow looked at him. "What do you mean?" Everett thought about it. "When I bought this place, I thought the house was going to save me. I thought if I could just fix it up and make it livable, everything else would fall into place." He looked at Willow. "But it wasn't the house that saved me. It was the people in it." Willow's eyes filled with tears. She reached over and took his hand. "You saved us too," she said. Everett shook his head. "I don't think any of us saved each other. I think we just decided not to give up." Willow smiled. "Maybe that's the same thing," she said. They sat there for a moment, holding hands in the truck. Then Kira came running out of the house with Autumn behind her. Kira waved at them through the windshield. Everett and Willow got out of the truck. Kira ran up and grabbed Everett's hand. "Come look what Autumn and I made," Kira said. She dragged him into the house. Willow followed. Inside, the kitchen table was covered with drawings. Kira had drawn pictures of the four of them. In every picture, they were together. In the house, in the yard, by the fire. Everett picked up one of the drawings. It showed 4 stick figures standing in front of a house. Above them, Kira had written in careful letters, "My family." Everett felt his throat tighten. He looked at Willow. She was crying. Autumn was smiling. Kira was beaming. "Do you like it?" Kira asked. Everett knelt down and pulled her into a hug. "I love it," he said. That night, after Kira had gone to bed, the 3 adults sat on the porch and watched the stars. The air was cold, but not freezing. Spring was coming. Everything was starting again. Autumn spoke first. "I have a date next week," she said. Willow looked at her, surprised. "With who?" "A guy I met at the market. He seems nice." Willow smiled. "That's great," she said. Autumn shrugged, but she was smiling too. Everett looked at Willow. She looked back at him. They didn't need to say anything. They both knew what they had. They both knew how lucky they were. The stars stretched out above them. The house creaked and settled behind them. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called out. Everything was quiet. Everything was still. And for the first time in a long time, it was enough. A year later, Everett stood in front of the farmhouse with Willow, Autumn, and Kira. They had come back to take a photo. The house looked completely different now. New paint, new roof, a garden in the front yard, a sign by the road that read, "Everett Construction and Willow's Kitchen." Kira stood between Everett and Willow, holding both their hands. Autumn stood next to Willow with her arm around her sister. They smiled at the camera. After the photo, Everett looked up at the house. He thought about the day he had first arrived, the broken windows, the sagging porch, the two scared women sitting by the fire. Willow stepped up next to him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Everett smiled. "I'm thinking that this place didn't save us. We saved each other." Willow leaned her head against his shoulder. "I think you're right," she said. They stood there together, looking at the house. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And that was all that mattered.